Naruto is a story about ninjas, so obviously there are gonna be many references to real-life ninjas when the Naruto story happens. Weapons, clothes, even the hand signs are inspired in real-life hand signs. But perhaps what ninjas are most known for is their ability to stealth, hide from their enemies, and strike them from the shadows without them even noticing what happened. After all, when you think about a ninja, if you're not a Naruto fan that is, you're gonna think about somebody wearing that black jumpsuit covering an entire body with shurikens and weapons that can be easily disguised. You're gonna think about a person stealthing through the night, as silent as an owl. And just like in real life, stealth is very important in the Naruto series as well. Being able to hide your presence, either so that you can run away from a more powerful opponent, or so that you can attack somebody without them noticing, is extremely useful in combat. And it's the type of ability people love seeing Naruto characters using because it's very shinobi-like. Or at least it was back in the beginning of the series. Because the element of stealth pretty much disappears from the Naruto story after a certain point. After characters get really powerful, it seems like they're no longer ninjas. And therefore they don't really need to hide from their opponents anymore because they're essentially demigods with powers that a ninja would never fathom. But why is this the case in the Naruto series? Why would a story that focuses on ninjas and stealth suddenly lose that aspect, which is very important for the lore of the verse? After all, they are ninjas. It is upsetting when a show that used to be about stealth and hiding from your enemies as much as you could, like ninjas would, being silent, catching your enemies off guard because they couldn't see your presence, turns into a battle of gigantic monsters that clash against each other, and their powerful attacks shake the environment they're in. They shoot massive projectiles that destroy the battlefield all around them in a way that's not shinobi-like. You can't really hide a massive 30-meter monster or 90 feet in freedom units. Naruto has so many of these kaiju battles that don't seem like they belong to a shinobi world, do they? Because they're simply too big, their powers are too flamboyant and strong, and the element of stealth is just completely taken out of the equation in these situations when two massive creatures fight against each other. And I just described the final fight of the Chunin exams. Naruto versus Gaara, when Naruto uses his massive toad, Gamabunta, against a massive tanuki sand monster in Shukaku that Gaara's using. They're extremely powerful, gigantic creatures that clash against each other. They destroy the forest around them just because they're fighting on it, and their massive jutsu, such as the water bullets and the wind bullets, are extremely strong. They cause explosions. They don't seem to be quote-unquote shinobi-like. In the first 3 minutes of this video, I roughly reproduced a very popular take among the Naruto fandom that Naruto lost its identity because characters became very non-shinobi because they're no longer stealthy. And I'm sorry if you agree with this take, but it's just an extremely dumb take because, as I mentioned here, this already happened in the Chunin exams, the second arc of the series. I know more casual fans tend to forget this Naruto versus Gaara fight in the end of the Chunin exams. For some reason, it's not a very talked about fight, even though it's a great fight. But Naruto did use a gargantuan kaiju toad against a gargantuan sand tanuki there. The argument that Naruto became a battle of megazords is not really sustainable because in the very first chapter/episode, we hear about a gargantuan nine-tailed fox who can destroy mountains and cause earthquakes just by waving its tails around. And that fox just so happens to be sealed inside the main character, so this is very clear setup that, oh, our main character is going to eventually acquire those powers, which happens obviously in Naruto Shippuden when Naruto masters the power of the Nine Tails completely, and he gains those powers of shattering the landscape around him. Yes, obviously Naruto characters get more powerful as the story progresses, but this is natural for any shonen anime, really. But talking more specifically about stealth, I will agree with you that quote-unquote stealth and hiding from your enemies is more often used in the beginning of the series, but it doesn't completely go away, even by the very end of the Naruto story. And even in the beginning of the series, stealth wasn't that prevalent. You may be misremembering it because it's been a while since you've read the first chapters of Naruto or watched the first episodes, but situations are almost never resolved through stealth. Let's think about this for a second. In the first Naruto chapter, sure, Naruto sneaks into the Hokage office, but the third Hokage meets him and Naruto's able to defeat him using the sexy jutsu. He steals the scroll of the Shadow Clone Jutsu and he goes away to the forest. Now you could say Naruto was hiding from the shinobis in the Leaf Village so that he could learn the Shadow clone jutsu, but they found him pretty quickly. He wasn't really trying to hide for real. And then there's that pursuit between Mizuki, Iruka, and Naruto. Now, are they really being stealthy? Because not really. They're using the transformation jutsu to fool each other in that situation. Naruto does hide a little bit from Mizuki and Iruka, and that's when Iruka kind of confessed that he kind of hated Naruto back in the day because he's the vessel of the Nine Tails, and Naruto's overhearing that behind a tree, but Naruto doesn't really use that to his advantage. He just kind of shows up. He kicks Mizuki in the face, sure, but then when he actually beats Mizuki is by using 1,000 shadow clones, which isn't exactly very stealthy. This is very important because the first chapter of a manga series, especially a shonen manga, is going to give what's this story going to be about, what's the core theme of it. And if stealth and ninjas using stealth to beat each other was the main theme of the Naruto series, then Naruto would have beaten Mizuki with stealth, but he clearly doesn't. As a matter of fact, it's far away from stealth as you can get with 1,000 shadow clones. Now in the Land of Waves arc, sure, the characters sneak around to get to the Land of Waves in a boat, and then when Zabuza arrives, he uses his hide in the mist jutsu to hide in the mist, and yeah, this is stealth, it's cool. But it's a hurdle for our main characters to overcome, and they do so, but they don't overcome that hurdle through stealth. They overcome it through clever tactics, releasing Kakashi from the water prison and everything, and then in the final fight of the Land of Waves, Naruto is the opposite of stealth yet again, and he's the main character of the series. He uses the Nine Tails' powers, and he goes ballistic on Haku, punches him real bad. Same thing goes for the Forest of Death and the Chunin exams, for instance. Characters use stealth a lot in that arc of the story because sure, they're trying to hide from their enemies and catching them off guard, but usually situations are not resolved through stealth. I mean, in that arc, we're introduced to the Byakugan, a jutsu that essentially negates stealth completely, and that's the second arc of the series. It already makes stealth, just like plain hiding from your enemies, kinda useless because jutsus that are being introduced into the story. And yes, there are very cool stealth scenes in Naruto Part 1, such as Kisame and Itachi infiltrating the Leaf Village, Orochimaru and his army infiltrating the Leaf Village as well in the Chunin exams when they are about to attack the village and try to destroy it. But if you're talking about the sheer impact of stealth and scenes and just things that happen in the verse, I would argue that there are things more impactful in Naruto Shippuden that happen because of stealth than in Naruto Part 1. There's no infiltration mission in Naruto Part 1, but there are at least two major missions in Naruto Shippuden. The first one being the mission in the Tenchi Bridge arc, where Team Kakashi eventually stealths into Orochimaru's hideout and they manage to rescue Sai from his weird imprisonment there. And then there's Jiraiya's entire infiltration in the Rain Village, which is supposed to be the most secluded place in the Naruto verse. You can also point to the beginning of the Kakuzu versus Kakashi fight, where Kakashi stealths on Kakuzu and catches him from behind with a Raikiri. There's also another extremely overlooked infiltration mission in the 5 Kage Summit, when Sasuke and Team Taka infiltrate the 5 Kage Summit, and they did that through sheer stealth. They didn't notice Team Taka up until Zetsu came and essentially announced, "Sasuke's here, come and get him," because Obito wanted Sasuke to awaken his Mangekyo Sharingan further by fighting against the Kage. And then people are gonna say, yeah, but the real problem is when the war arc starts. And you will be wrong, because there were several instances of stealth in the war arc as well. The entire plan revolving around the White Zetsu army was that the White Zetsus would drain the chakra of people they fight against during the day, and then during the night they would transform themselves into those people, copying their chakra signatures so that sensory types wouldn't even notice them, and then they would attack the alliance from within. Literally the only person who could tell the difference between a White Zetsu and the real person was Naruto with his KCM transformation. This is something extremely stealthy related, and it's an aspect of the war arc that I actually actively dislike. I don't find interesting what they did with the White Zetsu army. I think they're not cool characters because they're just to throw away. You're not very invested when a White Zetsu's transformed and is trying to attack it because it's a White Zetsu. They're not gonna do anything. They're gonna be useless. But it's stealth used in the war arc very thoroughly. We then get Sasuke, Orochimaru, Suigetsu, and Jugo infiltrating the Leaf Village in the war arc using stealth. And you could say that the most legendary fight in the verse was resolved through stealth actually, which is the Madara versus Hashirama fight in the Valley of the End, when Hashirama beats Madara, stabbing him from behind because Madara didn't notice that he attacked Hashirama's clone. Now, the real ones didn't notice Hashirama coming from behind. It's stealth, right? It's a built-in Madara's character. He hates people standing behind him. He always knows when somebody is standing behind him, but he overestimated his own abilities in the fight against Hashirama, and then he lost it. I guess you could say that Hashirama hiding from Madara there is stealth, right? And he catches Madara from behind like a quote-unquote true shinobi would do in real life, right? And then there's also Zetsu backstabbing Maru, which is the worst scene in the history of fiction, and I absolutely detest it, but it is stealth, and it is used in the war arc, and I hate it, and I wish that scene never happened and the Kaguya never existed. But the notion that stealth is the most important quality for a ninja is just bogus. I mean, take Kakashi and Sasuke for example. They are pretty stealthy ninjas when they want to be, but the Chidori / Raikiri makes the most absurd 1,000-bird noise that you can hear from a mile away. And it's also extremely bright light when you use it in your hand, like it's a lot of lightning coalescing into your palm. It's very clear that you can see that from a lot of distance. And that jutsu was literally used in the Land of Waves arc, the first Naruto arc ever. And also in the first battle that we see Kakashi in against Zabuza, they both use two massive water dragons that clash against each other, and Kakashi ends the fight by shoving the entire river on Zabuza's face and inundated the forest. Is that really a very stealthy jutsu? Are those two massive dragons really a ninja-like ability? Take Naruto's signature abilities for example. The Shadow Clone Jutsu, not exactly a stealthy ability. The Rasengan, definitely not a stealthy ability. This massive sphere of light in your hand that makes this absurd noise, just like the Chidori, but in a different way. It's not exactly stealthy. Naruto's never really been known for his stealth abilities. And as I said before, in the second arc, the Chunin exams, we already get a kaiju fight to end the arc with. The ninja art has much more to do with deception than with stealth. Stealth is just another aspect of deception that you can use or not depending on the situation. But practically every single Naruto fight or clash in the series has strategy and deception revolving around it. Even fights that you're not expecting really to be very strategic are. In the war arc, people say, oh, they're just shooting laser beams like Dragon Ball, there's no strategy anymore in the war arc. I suggest you reread Madara vs. Guy and the team that was helping Guy out. Madara vs. Naruto and Sasuke, when Madara gets the 10 tails and Naruto gets 6 Bat Powers and Sasuke gets the Rinnegan. I suggest you to reread 10 Tails Obito vs. Naruto, Sasuke, Minato, and Tobirama. I suggest you reread the 5 Kage vs. Madara fight. I suggest you reread Itachi and Sasuke vs. Kabuto. I suggest you reread Itachi and Nagato vs. Bee and Naruto. I suggest you reread Obito vs. Killer Bee, Might Guy, Naruto, and Kakashi. I've recently made a video talking about the most strategic high IQ fights in the Naruto series, and several of them are in the war arc itself, and even though the characters have much more powerful abilities and are just stronger overall than they were back in part 1 for instance, it doesn't mean that they lose strategy and the element of deception in their fights. Actually, it becomes even more important because you have to be very clever to circumvent such powerful abilities that are being constantly thrown against you. And I'm not saying that stealth is a useless ability, much in the contrary. We see that in the first bell test, Kakashi even acknowledges when Teen 7 hides after Kakashi started the test and says, oh, okay, they know how to hide pretty well, I guess this is very important for ninjas. But then, you see that Naruto didn't hide because he felt he didn't have to. He underestimated Kakashi, and Sasuke and Sakura obviously hid, and Sasuke even attacked Kakashi from afar with a barrage of shuriken and kunai. But that's the thing, the protagonist of the story is not exactly a stealthy guy. He even wears an orange jumpsuit from the first chapter, and I never see people complaining about that specific fact. Rock Lee, another character that people love, he wears a very bright green jumpsuit. That's not exactly very stealthy, is it? And Lee may not look, but he's actually pretty clever. He comes up with strategies for his fights. Even though he only uses taijutsu, that doesn't mean he's not intelligent. And sure, there are some ninjas like Shikamaru, for example, that use a lot of stealth in their fights and tactics, like when Shikamaru caught all those sound ninjas in his shadow paralysis jutsu so that they wouldn't catch up to Naruto and Sakura. But he also fooled them using fake footprints so that they wouldn't know what to look for, and then he was hiding from behind. He caught them with a shadow paralysis, or shadow possession, because shadow paralysis is the old name, whatever. But Shikamaru's much more than that. Everybody knows it. He is a strategy guy. He comes up with very clever tactics. There are also other cool moments, such as Deidara stealthing into the sand village and looking for Gaara as he's flying and quote-unquote disguising himself as a bird, because when you look up, even though Deidara's bird is gigantic, you're not going to have the right sense of perspective to know right away this is not a real bird. You're just going to think it's a real bird. But then Gaara notices that that type of bird doesn't really exist in the desert, and that's how he manages to detect Deidara. And then the fight proceeds to be a gargantuan battle with Gaara using the entire desert and Deidara dropping a nuke in the sand village. You see this variety very often in Naruto Shippuden. Characters can use stealth, clever tactics, and gargantuan jutsus all in the same fight. I mean, take a look at Madara vs. Hashirama. They're shoving massive abilities against each other. The 10,000 Buddha arm statue against the majestic attire Susanoo's great clash of two extremely potent jutsus. But Madara was also coming up with very interesting and clever strategies so that Hashirama wouldn't be able to just grab the tail beast bomb he was shooting with the Nine Tails by infusing the Nine Tails Bijudama with his own Susanoo sword, so that Hashirama had to use the 5-layer Rashomon to just divert the path of that Bijudama enhanced by the Susanoo sword. And Hashirama managed to get the win by stealthing behind Madara. Stealth is just one aspect of shinobi life. It's an important aspect, but being stealthy or even being strategic is not what it means to be a ninja in the Naruto series. To be a ninja is to endure. This is the theme of the Naruto story. Enduring the curses that you get in life and overcoming them by not losing your humanity. This is a thesis statement of the Naruto series, and it's pretty much delivered by Sasuke in his monologue in chapter 699 when he is saying goodbye to Naruto and Team 7 as he's about to leave the village. It's never been stealth, taijutsu combat, or even clever strategies for that matter. So yeah, Naruto characters did not stop being stealthy by the end of the Naruto series. So the video title is a lie. It's meant to draw people in, and hopefully they change their minds about the Naruto series once they watch the entire video, or maybe they clicked off because they got pissed when I revealed my true intentions. Regardless, subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the video, please, that really helps me out, and also like the video so we can share it around YouTube and boost me in the algorithm. Those two things take 2 seconds, and you can just do them now and help me out a lot. Watch this other cool Naruto video that's showing up on your screen right now, and thank you so much for watching, guys.